still do
these
it.
days we don't see it.
Oh, we do it, but we've modernized it.
I grew up at the beach, and some of these fishermen too are used to. You see one type of T-shirt, and all of them wear it. There was a logo like.
Oh, but Eric, I don't pay. There's something I saw when we're coming, and interestingly, I don't know if it's because I was thinking around stuff like that made me pinpoint or be able to notice them when I saw. So I saw one lady sweeping outside the house, and she had bleached so much. She had patches all over her legs, and then as we got into the estates as well, there was a woman jogging, and she's bleached so much. And I'm asking myself, why are we doing this to ourselves? Is it based on inferiority complex? Because sometimes even the men say they like the fair-skinned ladies, eh? So people, no, I'm serious. So it's like,
I don't know.
You know, so yeah.
Oh, my wife is fair, very very pretty.
But it's natural.
And I don't think I went in for her because of the color.
But Eric, maybe it's you.
You use the word inferiority complex.
Yeah.
I think it is an overriding factor. It is like women grow up, everybody wants to perm the hair or add some chemicals to the hair and look like a white person. Yeah. And that's why I admire you because of your hairstyle. We have a lot of things that belong to us, but we want to look different. And so you see many people going that way. Say bema pe oba fancy. I can't speak better tree, so let me speak fancy. Say benyini pe besia, menjinzi de benyina nenyo aji besia ho baka fa besia wa poro no ho. Because mate dem besia for wa poro ho no ho bon. Because chemicals no say in fifu fra.
Bleaching cream like I say enyan.
O enyan. Nti say besia na poro ho a o de hu de ho na poro no, you are exposing yourself because time be beya now was say even the FDA and then authorities should go out there and seize these things. They are out there. I'll call Makola na kwashe.
Also, these days it's not just the creams they use. There are pills.
There are pills
that people take.
You look at their ankles, look at their knee, look at their elbow, and I'm wondering. But that's them.
Anyways.
But there are very worrying things happening in this country.
Oh yeah.
You heard about the atomic junction explosion.
Yes.
And I remember at that time there was a lot of conversation. NPA said they were going to stop, they were going to enforce regulations. All the oil marketing companies, especially those who deal with LPG, gas and so on, were supposed to do one or two things and so on. But years on, it looks like we have relaxed the enforcement.
It's gone now.
And unfortunately, this happened in the Ashanti region. The driver, the mate died, and a 2-year-old died.
Oh, boy.
A bus, a commercial bus, which was just negotiating a cab, was also engulfed. 5 got injured, and 10 houses were also burnt. I believe that this morning it will begin another round of conversation, and we'll stop somewhere. It's so sad.
It's sad. I mean, we have to move away from the point where when issues happen, then we start, you know, we are all geared up and we talk about it with so much passion. After a week or two, so a lot of times things happen, and when people are saying, "Oh, it's gonna," it will blow off very soon.
We'll be taking the weather report, and of course, we'll be taking some other updates. When we come back, we'll tell you more about what the papers are reporting. So welcome back. This is TVXYZ. This is Morning Update. Remember, the text line is 0556 999 999. Just share the link on Facebook and YouTube. There is something that every Ghanaian must be interested in. It is the level of impunity. I'm sure you have heard about those gentlemen who were arrested in the Tiwa forest. Everybody knew they are national security operatives. Government issued a statement denying that they are national security operatives. They were transferred to the police headquarters and they have since been facing trial at the Koforidua Circuit Court. Yesterday, they made some revelations. They were refused bail and they ranted. They are saying that government used them for the mayhem during the Ayawaso West Wuogon by-elections. And government is aware that they were operating in the Etiwa forest. And after using them, they have dumped them. I want to quote categorically what Star FM has reported as information that came from their own lips. And I want to read. You sent us to Ayawaso in the 2020 elections. You sent us to Kumasi to make a show. But today you are calling us thieves. Meanwhile, it is the office of the president that sent us to the Tiwa forest. NPP is not a good party. We will show them. And this is what has come out from these suspects. Government has denied our national security operatives. If you listen to this narrative and you listen to DCOP Ayensu Opare Ado and his allegation that those who forced him out are members of vigilante groups, and national security says they are members of national security, what goes through your mind? And again, yesterday, the MP for Assam Central, Keno Ajimang, has been in the news. He says he's exonerating himself. He is exonerating himself. And what is the claim? That the person who killed Ahmed Swale is known. He's in Kumasi. And he claims that the police has been aware for months. And he's asking questions why the police is refusing to pick him up. Don't forget that Keno Ajimang is the chairman of the Defense Committee of Parliament. And he says he has received briefing. Almost every year, when we celebrate World Press Freedom Day, the Ghana Journalists Association, the Media Foundation for West Africa, Reporters Without Borders, name them. They cry out, let's find the killers of Ahmed Swale. Now, if Keno Ajimang made these serious allegations on national television, should he be picked up by the police service by now? Because when the incident happened, he was the first suspect. And we all know the story as we speak now. Now he's accusing the Ghana Police Service directly that they have been aware of the person who killed Ahmed Swale and he's walking free. If it is not true, how should the police react? If it is true, what would you say about the Ghana Police Service? Should government be interested? Because government has been put on the spot that it has got something to do with Ahmed Swale's death. I believe this trend of events is becoming very, very worrying, especially when people feel that Keno Ajimang is taking the nation for granted. Remember, he's supposed to be facing the court for contempt. We all know what has happened to that case as we speak. The question is, what is going on in this country? Today, we should be able to have some conversation on that. But I will leave it there and push the rest to Abner.
Yes.
It's worrying.
It is. It is very worrying. But I want to get you out of that mood. My producer has a birthday wish for... So this is from Innocent Okechukwu, and he wants to say to Felicia Adriapa Yabua, who lives in Sapperman, happy birthday to you, darling. Yeah, today is your birthday, and God bless you. This is from Okechukwu, Innocent. Happy birthday to you.
The ladies are Sapperman.
Yes.
I'm a Saman.
Yes.
She's celebrating her birthday.
Today.
All right.
Yeah, okay, and I will have a conversation about it later.
Don't go and find trouble for yourself.
I know.
I think the person is supposed to be the landlord.
Sir. Now speaking of landlords, and then we'll be talking about landlords and tenants, isn't it?
Yeah, I think a lot of things are happening, especially to very, very poor people, especially, let me use the word again, those who live in compound houses.
Yeah.
So it's a compound house. Now, when you, and your landlord say, and a landlord has taken control of everything, every month he comes around, what are some of the frustrations that you face?
Yeah.
How does the rent control board come in? I think it will be an interesting conversation. I would wish that you give the opportunity to people to call in and then share their experiences, and let's hear how the rent control board would want to educate them or refer them to the right things to do to settle some of those controversies.
Yeah.
Because a new landlord got your mansa. The last thing is about catch or the Mujafo Metamedan and 2 million. No one I go the landlord is the you.
I'm not ready to move.
All right.
But I mean quickly, in this day and era where lipo sessions have become the order of the day. Lipo sessions. So and always those kind of, when you say there are even some that they take your blood and use on your skin to clear spores is apparently is very painful. So to get yourself out of all of this pain and having to take medication to maintain the structure that they've given to you, why not go natural? Get the lock and mixture.
Banakasa. Because I was asking myself, are you encouraging people to go and do as well friend then lipo
session?
But women who look like bees.
But
I nearly crashed into somebody's car one day. There was this pretty lady just tempting me, and I was driving, licking my lips.
So the dream I had about it today.
And before I realized, I was nearly bumping into somebody's vehicle. And it happens to men. I've confessed.
Hey, it's not just you. I'm sure a lot of men out there have confessions to make as well.
Can you imagine how it looks like driving with your wife sitting in front? And you have seen something beautiful, and you want to admire nature, and she wants to disturb you.
Some watch skillfully.
I have a trick. When I see the thing far away, I start looking in the opposite direction, and to be now me
yeah, but anyways, if you want Eric to
you go ahead and tell us,
then please get the lock and mixture. It's a bit CSO as a woman. It's not just about giving you the body, but also if you have ABI, you've been battling with white for a very long time now, which is a very recurrent situation in women, especially if you have a cheating boyfriend who doesn't use protection and he tries somebody who is infected, then definitely it will come back to you as well. And see, all the time, I think this should even be a supplement that you take every time just to safeguard yourself from these things. And also the delay man capsules, we've been talking about how good it is for you in bed, but apparently it can also be a supplement. Yeah, so the men more pest packs no gym kakra now delay man capsules kakra now they are one just to serve as a supplement to you. Also there is the the Losing Herbal mixture for general body pains. You get the Losing Herbal mixture, and the ointment obviously for the massages. You can use it on your romantic nights. But for bulk purchases, please go to Colinac Herbal, Misty Herbal, Danny Herbal, Freddie Mains, Habme, Apidunk, Sewa Herbal Shop, Mampon, and then there's also the Drug Lane, Okainshi, and AA Mensa, Takradi, and leading herbal shops nationwide. Or you can call 0242 133 577 or 0248 61999. I'll tell you about Black Secret Makeup and, of course, my official sponsor, X Natural Mineral Water, subsequently. So please keep watching.
So let's do the headlines. Yes. I have the Ghanaian Times. I have Michael Dokosi's Daily Post and the Business and Financial Times. The front page of the Ghanaian Times says, Ghana to produce COVID-19 vaccines. It comes with a question mark. You know, the president traveled to 3 European countries, and one of the fallouts was this conversation that Ghana is being considered as a hub for the production of COVID vaccines. I think it's good. Yeah. And beyond that, Ghana is also taking 170 million euros for the establishment of a bank. Yes, and again, I think there's another good news that came out of that meeting. The president is actually returning to Ghana today. He was away for 9 days. Yesterday he was trending. Yesterday he was trending. I found it very embarrassing because when I went home last night, between 9 and 10 o'clock, I was watching SABC News. And there's this woman who was doing a presentation. She spoke for almost about 30 minutes. And because I had seen the video of the president who was dozing off, trending, I was asking myself, how would the foreign minister feel? Those people around the president, how would they feel? You know, in Ghana, what we have observed, according to my colleagues who go on the field, is that national security tries to restrict them from capturing any scene at the high table where the president sits. Sometimes they ask only GTV to take those shots. Yes, they are trying to avoid that embarrassment here at home. But I am imagining when the president has to travel outside and where he has to sit for long hours. He's already old. This doesn't speak well for everybody sleeps. I do. But when you have cameras on you all over the world picking this, it doesn't really.
He couldn't help it.
So you could have delegated somebody. It's not every event that he must personally be there. The vice president is there. How often does the vice president attend some of these high-profile functions?
Right.
He could go. Apart from that, there are other very prominent personalities in his government who can go, so that he can avoid some of these embarrassments.
Let's all go to pension at 60.
60.
Yeah.
Life begins at 60. Because I'm
That is why they are firing them
I'm
from
moving
the
towards there.
sector
So that is
60.
where it's
very ironic that you take somebody out of office because the person is 60 or above, and you're almost 80 and you're still in office.
So the other story on the front page of the Ghanaian Times says UNWTO agrees to assist Ghana to develop tourism strategy. Dr. Awal is speaking here. And then suspect in Cape Coast head teacher murder arrested.
Right. On the front page of the Daily Graphic, Accra is looking quite dark because it says dark streets and safety swallowed up in the night. World meets in Ghana Investment Forum, which is fixed for 2022. Also, there is the Securities and Exchange Commission launching their first master plan for capital markets in the country. River Cobra also is regaining quality as well. So it means that Nana is doing something. He's fixing the country. Galamsey. People are stopping, so Ankobra is getting back its vibrancy. Now, on the back page, Malcolm Foundation supports girls' menstrual hygiene. This apparently is to mark World Menstrual Hygiene Day, celebrated on May 28th, to highlight the importance of good menstrual hygiene management at a global scale. The story you spoke about, a tanker explodes and burns half of a village. Yeah,
so let me just mention two headlines from two papers and we go for a break. Presidency sent us to Etiwa Forest. Galamsey operatives go berserk in court. So that's how it's captured on the front page of the Daily Post newspaper. The Business and Financial Times, SEC unveils 10-year capital market master plan to boost growth. Other stories captured there. 2 seconds, read it quickly. And then let's wrap up for business wisdom to join us.
All right, so quickly, confusion rocks Ghana Law School exams, but Director Keno Ajimang says there is no cause for alarm. Also, Bisman petitions Interior Minister to probe Interpol Ghana. Okujato is making headlines. He says reject funds from Galamsey kingpins as well. Now, GAF promotes Keno Ajimang after
that statement is very instructive.
It is.
The Lands Minister had an engagement with the Chinese ambassador to Ghana, and he was saying that they were asking them to help us to fight Galamsey, and that is where the controversy is coming. You remember last year, the Chinese were donating to the ministry, and some suspected that it was a fine way to compromise government, especially when it has to do with foreigners in this illegal mining activity. We'll be taking a break. Wisdom will join us with some exciting news shortly.
The average human body mass should have at least 60% water for optimal performance in any physical or mental exercise. We can help you maintain it naturally. natural mineral water. Simply natural.
And in this bulletin, Asin Central MP accuses police administration of reluctance to pick Ahmed Swale's murderer. This is the latest making the rounds. Also, fresh leaked confidential list of appointments within the Ghana Armed Forces reveals Keno Ajimang has been rewarded for assaulting journalists contrary to impressions created by government. We have reactions and details for you. President Akufo-Addo returns home today after a 9-day 3-nation tour to Europe. And later, residents of Dodowa react to promise to dualize via major highway. Details of these and other stories coming up shortly. My name is Wisdom Hedejo. Many thanks for your time. This morning, let's begin the story from a rather sad one, because the persons who have been confirmed dead include a driver and his mate in that fuel tanker that blasted yesterday. Now, the third is a 2-year-old boy. Now, residents in that community, we understand, were also affected, and that 10 houses, we are told, were also engulfed, but occupants in that house managed to escape. Let's now attention to some other stories. An MP for Asin Central has revived the suspicions about the killing of investigative journalist Ahmed Hussein Swale. Now, the latest, Mr. Japon, who is also the chairman of the Defense and Interior Committee, is accusing the police service of reluctance to pick up the suspect.
Paid hitmen eliminated investigative journalist Ahmed Swale that fateful night in January 2019. Public anger was directed at the Asin Central MP, Keno Ajimang. The link was his open attacks on Anas Aremeyao Anas and his Tiger Eye PI team for the expose that suggested the president, Nana Akufo-Addo, his vice, and Mr. Japon, among others, can be compromised. And this is why the public wanted Keno Ajimang to be picked.
Ushia baby am papa na so obey your promises abi am say me mumu ya baba bi am tia you are bad sa Ahmed no mun show am pictures no ne yanwe somebody picture nchire mu nyina am so oje madina yes ayi ni boy no Ahmed no we your friend Ahmed the picture back am fan to so na yakes God good the picture back what madina ya
3 years on, the assailants are on the run. Ghana's image is still heavily dented, and the blood remains thick as long as the criminals and their hirers are on the run. Every year since, the rhetoric has been the same by speaker after speaker, especially at the celebration of World Press Freedom Day, and the police keeps promising. Now, Keno Ajimang, who some believe has been left off the hook, is parrying the heat to the Ghana Police Service. His allegation is serious to the effect that the police knows Ahmed Swale's murderer and has been privy to this for months. In his latest ranting, Mr. Japon, who is now the chairman of the Defense Committee of Parliament, names the alleged suspect, where he lives, and questions why there's so much delay.
Onipa na okunu no wo Ashanti region. Police for na kasa na brief me. So honorable, we know what the way is exonerated now. Minimum why this thing happened to stay away a day. But me say, how do I stay away when Anas Kromfo within me sir mention my name up to extent a congressman report to me. Yes. Ama me do Houston in 2019 November. Almost stop me. Say me na makokum Ahmed Swale. That's the report. Now you have the report. You know. Na niya ya wo mu say. Omo ka kire me say. Mimi nya botre. Na akwa no. Your friend Ansu Giabo. And mu ye privilege. Mu ye privilege. You are the first. E shame bufuo. Me say okumase. Your friend Ansu Giabo.
The latest development raises key questions. Is Mr. Keno Ajimang speaking the truth? Has he blown the lid and possibly alerted the suspect to abscond? If indeed the police know the suspect, are they still tracking him? Should the police administration be speaking now before it is too late? Is it another diversionary tactic? Must Mr. Keno Ajimang be arrested now to provide evidence if the police believe what he's saying is not true? What must be the response of the presidency, which has been at the receiving end of all these circles? Should the Ghana Journalists Association, the Media Foundation for West Africa, Reporters Without Borders, and the list can go on and on, take this up? What is your own opinion? TV XYZ News will keep you updated.
So as we ponder on those questions, let's still do some issues related to security. And this time, it's emerging that the Minister for National Security lied when his statement suggested that the operations commander at the Secretariat, Lieutenant Keno Ajimang, who was relieved of his post, was due for further sanctions. Now, it's emerging that he's been promoted.
This was what fueled public anger.
You don't go kicking his groin in the name of national security. In 2-3 years' time, this Ajimang guy will go on retirement and God will judge you and your family. You will see. This thing, we shouldn't allow these things to happen. When we were fighting for this democracy, Ajimang, where were you?
Last week, Thursday, the Ministry of National Security issued a statement categorically stating that the 4 officers who were allegedly involved in the assault of City FM investigative journalist Caleb Kuda for taking pictures of abandoned state or Maslock vehicles at the facility had been sanctioned after a committee report that indicted them. Lieutenant Keno Ajimang, who was Director of Operations at the National Security, was relieved of his post for his direct involvement. The officer was to report to the Chief of Defence Staff for further investigations and appropriate action. That calmed nerves. But it is emerging that statement was a camouflage intended to mislead the public. Lieutenant Keno Ajimang was formerly a second-in-command at the 64th Battalion until he was seconded to the National Security Ministry, but he is now fully in charge as commander of the 64th Battalion of the Ghana Armed Forces. Social media is awash with angry reactions after a leaked list of appointments suggests the embattled Keno Ajimang has rather been promoted. On the leaked list, his name appears on number 29. The confidential list, according to sources, was issued same day the Ministry for National Security was informing the public he has been sanctioned. Senior Vice President and Policy Analyst with Imani Ghana, Kofi Bento, wrote on his Facebook wall, "When you promote a wrongdoer, you have condoned and participated in their wrong. Stop enabling wrongdoing." Another social media critic wrote in his post asking, meaning more manhandling at the news unit, or the report was inaccurate.
Now, Parliament is set to probe that particular matter. Now, the ranking member on the Defence and Interior Committee, James Agaga, gave the hint in response to the leaked document. Now, this particular one is raising more suspicions. Let me speak to fraud and security consultant Richard Kumado, who has joined me over the phone. Richard, good morning and many thanks for your time. Now, first,
thank you.
We'll talk about this, but first, let's look at Keno Ajimang. Now, his comment. Now, Keno Ajimang was the first suspect when this Ahmed Suale issue broke. Now that he's turning the gun at the police, what do you make of that?
No, I think it's an indictment as somebody who sits in Parliament at the highest level. I even understood he's on the Defense and Intelligence Committee where privileged information are shared. And the manner at which he throws some of those information into the public domain is very worrying. Then that also comes to say that as law enforcement agencies, what do? We must be proactive and we must be seen as people who are doing our job. He needs to be getting involved in the investigations to bring to bear who killed Ahmed Suale, who killed J.D. Dankwa, and many of the issues that his name has popped up. And to that extent, he will keep on throwing stuff into the public domain, either to, brainwash the police or to divert attention.
Okay. Now, the GJA and other bodies have been calling for the head of the killers of Ahmed Suale. Is this the time?
No, that Definitely, not this time. Everybody who has suffered some level of carnality or assault needs to be, justice has to be seen to be done. And even though Meswale died the painful way, we will need to be investigating. You see, no conclusive investigations and punishment rationalize the behavior of some other people. That is why crime rates are going up these days in Ghana with regard to gun shots and all manner of things the IGP, the Interior Minister, is talking about. Because we are not punishing people who are flouting the laws as quickly as possible. And people are taking the law into their own hands. And impunity is on the high. It's as a result of that.
You talk of punishments. Keno Ajimang has come to the fore. Now, he, we were told, has been relieved of his post. Now he's been heading the 64 Regiment. What do you make of that? Because his colleagues who were in the Etua Forest, people say, have been used as scapegoats.
No, definitely there's a problem. You realize National Security issued a statement that the man has been sent back into the military for investigations. What National Security did was that it means they don't have jurisdiction or authority over him. He got into the military and the military assigned him a new position. Once Ajimang is not standing a public trial in a criminal case at a public court, whatever the investigations at the military will not be made public to the general public. Because these are secret society organizations, the military, the BNI, and some of those ones, their internal operations will not be made public. And even though the public is crying that we want to know the outcome of the investigations, they will never make it public. What we can do is somebody to pursue a legal case. And if it's in the public domain, the issues would have come out. But for the military, they are saying that we have investigated him and we deem him not fit, or we deem him fit for the crimes he has committed. He has been exonerated. So go back and head the kind of department he's heading now. And do you know why? He could have been asked to go on a foreign mission or assigned elsewhere and nobody will get to know. It's because it's at the 64. That is why it's coming into the public domain. The public must understand that these are institutions that their internal procedures are not made public. And so even as much as we are crying about it, they would never come back to us and tell us anything.
Now, the said officer, Keno Ajimang, now he was the 2IC at the 64 Regiment before he was given that job at the National Security, which meant that the National Security then had some level of oversight responsibility on him. Now he's gone back to head a place where he was 2IC. Does that not leave much to be desired?
Definitely. The National Security said, as a security council, we don't have jurisdiction over him. We don't have authority over him, so we cannot punish him for any wrongdoing. And I have been one of the people who have always been saying that we don't need operational unit at the National Security. National Security is a serious place, and we don't need all manner of persons there, but nobody listens. And so with that letter, they are just saying that go back to your unit and let them take care of whatever excesses might have been committed. They go back in there and they said, we have looked at the evidence and per our operational procedure, you have not offended anybody. You have done work in line with your duty. Look at the FBI, the CIA, the MI6 and the MI5 in London and America and Mozart. The officers go, they can go wayward and they can create all manner of issues for the organizations. But these things are dealt with internally and their issues will never come into the public domain. And that is the dilemma we are facing today.
Richard, many thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you.
Richard Kumado is a fraud and security consultant speaking to us on that latest development. Now, President Akufo-Addo returns home today after his 9-day trip to France, Belgium, and South Africa. Now, this trip, according to government officials, have been beneficial, especially with the selection of Ghana as a hub for the production of COVID-19 vaccines and the loan to establish the development bank.
President Nana Akufo-Addo was away since Sunday, May 16th. His 9-day three-nation tour took him to France, where he attended the African Financing Summit, Brussels, the capital of Belgium, where he held bilateral talks with the President of the European Council, Charles Michel, on improving partnership with Euro countries, and South Africa, where he addressed the 4th ordinary session of the 5th Parliament of the Pan-African Parliament. The trip has yielded some positive results. Key among them is the 170 million euro facility from the European Investment Bank for the establishment of a new national bank, the Development Bank Ghana. Again, Ghana is to be removed from the European Union money laundering list by June. A statement issued after a meeting with the Vice President of the European Commission, Valdis Dombrovskis, announced the selection of Ghana as a possible manufacturing hub for COVID-19 vaccines. The president, who returns home today, has also called for cancellation of Africa's debt and the restructuring of the global financial architecture to effectively address challenges facing the continent in the post-COVID-19 era.
Now, last Sunday, the Minister for Roads and Highways, Kwesi Amoah-Akwanta, spoke extensively about roads projects ongoing with specific ones. Now, one of them is the Dodowa-Adentan Highway, and my visit there didn't show anything yet that the road will receive a facelift anytime soon. Just like the Eastern Corridor Road, the Dodowa-Adentan Highway has also received, if not one of the biggest promises, to made a dual carriage road, but that promise hasn't been fulfilled yet. From the days of President Kufuor to John Mahama and today Nana Akufo-Addo, this is a major road that connects Greater Accra to parts of the country. If you want to connect to Volta region, you can use this road through to Soma Nyakpong and then the Jasican Enclave. Again, right here is the road that is linking to Apollonia City, one of the estate developing companies on this stretch. A number of estate agencies have come up, government institutions, schools, and a whole lot, all on this particular street. The Christian University College, the Valley View University, and others, all on this Dodowa-Adentan Highway. But what do we see? Drivers struggle every single day to make their way through. What is baffling is the traffic situation from Amra here, which can also connect to Ashaiman. Forgetting the motorway is also nothing to write home about. Ashie and other parts, all is not in a better shape. How long are we? Well, we'll bring you the full report tomorrow, and that's all time will allow this morning. My name is Xyz Morning. Please do log on to my xyzonline.com for more stories. Good morning.
If I cry na menyisika, edia ye mefui.
Ehin fa na menya bosia, edia tre medwuma yimu.
Kai kra mabre, menya bosia ato taxi fufu. Suhum Rural Bank.
Suhum Rural Bank.
Yemamo akwa baba Suhum Rural Bank. Ye won hye ya hodo bi te se dwadifo abosia, ekokro bosia, susu account. Eni da so wo ho savings account. Me bada chain savings account. Ene de keka ho. Suhum Rural Bank was 03422919896. Na won so wetumi aka se.
Suhum Rural Bank. Ama ene mayeka una.
Suhum Rural Bank. Enti me pa minie.
Suhum Rural Bank, growing our heritage.
I love makeup. Applying it gives me so much joy. But when it's time to take it off, nothing does the job quite like the Black Secret makeup wipes. When I go somewhere and I feel really sweaty, I take my Black Secret wipe and I use it on my face. It picks me up and I don't look as tired as I did when I walked in.
Before I work on a client's face, I like to go over it with Black Secret makeup wipes to make sure the face is clean. It doesn't leave the face dry and tight, but it keeps it soft and moisturized.
Wipe say your bodo.
Bakope, and it gets the job done. Or baby, and the smell makes the experience even better.
And I say,
when you're fantastic. So say, dear, we in charge when you feel one cassansa. Losing the layman castles. A mob system go to Juma yet ding. No bread you must saw with Shankasanka. Nana, no, near.
So, losing Lotte, Mr. And this is you. I'm always if you want, you're free to come to, I say, for. Se me bubra honam si me dia se mo a. Me mu atanchia. Lawson Law Care Mixture.
Lawson Layman Capsule.
Mo yo bem mo.
Mo ya na la. Hello, Lawson Law Care Mixture.
Lawson Layman Capsules.
Do you know why you feel?
Delay man capsules. And medi if do what they cronkwan and a law care mixture. So a painful and ma woman new for anyone that won't need if you do what train son can. FD Ashisha sa a jedi and crater you adja to muse a.
When it says bakupe and it gets the job done, it's not a joke, because I can attest to the fact that the Black Secret facial wipe, you need one, and that's it. Everything is cleared up, unless of course you want to keep going this way and that way. Then maybe you can use two, but more than two, you are just wasting the wipes. So please get the affordable brands. I say this always, and you make your life easier for you. Today we'll be talking about other means that you can make your life easy, especially when it comes to rent. And I think that is one major challenge in this country. A lot of times you go for job interviews, they ask you how much you want to be paid, and you start, the first thing that comes into your mind is rent, before you add a few other things and see if the money they will be paying you at the end of the month will be enough. Because you know that when you go out there and you want to rent a place, they are not going to take anything below 1 year, which is a whole investment. So if you even want to start an investment where you are not getting investors in your business, it means that two things. It's either you have to go and pitch with someone, and how difficult or how easy it is to be sleeping in someone else's house. Today, they'll be passing where you're sleeping. Tomorrow, they are passing the next place you have relocated to. And so it's become very difficult for us to do a lot of things, because every time you are investing the money that you can invest into business, into rent. This morning, I have an expert in the building who will be helping us understand a lot of things, especially those that live in compound houses. There are lots of issues. They have toilet issues, utility issues, rent issues, even maintenance issues. We will make sure that we talk about all of these things before the conversation ends. Also, you can contribute to this show by sending your WhatsApp via our WhatsApp number 0556 999 999. Or today, I want to give you the opportunity to talk to the rent expert as well. So I'll take about 1 or 2 calls, and you talk about your issue, and if there is a solution, he can help you out with it. If it requires you coming to the office or, going to the courts, he would also help you with that as well. So we'll put the numbers on the screen, the phone calls. When it's time, you can call through and put your problem out there. And Mr. Emmanuel Hovik, Bosu, I got the name right, will help you solve the problem. Hopefully, I genuinely hope that by the end of the program, you may have taken something with you. I want to start with landlords.
That's right.
What are the obligations of landlords to tenants? I mean, we'll talk about the tenants' obligation as well, but I want to start with the landlord's obligations.
Okay. So to start with, say who is a landlord? That should be the question. So a landlord, according to the Rent Act 1963, Act 220, which has defined who a landlord is, which has defined who a tenant is. And according to the Act, it states that a landlord is somebody who has given out his premises or apartment in return of a money for a period of time for the person to stay there. So if you are somebody who has not paid money to somebody to occupy the person's premises, store, or an apartment for a period of time, you cannot call yourself a tenant. Right. And if you've not collected any money from somebody, giving out your premises for the person to stay for that period, you cannot call yourself a landlord. So there are various obligations, okay, if you want to call yourself a landlord. You can build your own apartment, you can build your own building. If you've not rented it out, then you cannot call yourself a landlord. That's a repetition. But the obligation is that when you finish building your house and you want to dwell in personally, or you want to give it to your daughter, your son, your relative without collecting money, then no act is inflicted on you, in quote. But when it comes to mind that, no, let me start getting money from these premises that I have built, there are rules and regulations that might guide you, and that can be found in the Act. The first thing that the Act mandates you, that you want to give your premises out, is for you to go to the rent control department. now let me represent rent control. You come to the rent control department or you go to the rent magistrate. That's the court. So any judge who sits on any rent case is called a rent magistrate. So you visit the rent magistrate or you come to the rent control department and apply for something we call an assessment.
Okay.
The assessment is where the rent officer will come to your premises, look at the features, look at the current rate of materials you've used, look at the location, look at the property rate and other things. Then we look at all those things and then we give you a rate that you have to charge your premises, which means it's a rent. So the certificate that will give you at the end of the assessment will state in how much you are supposed to charge for a period of 2 years.
Right.
The rent definition here is a recoverable rent, which means you can recover it almost all the time. So when we give you that certificate and we've stated how much you are supposed to charge, that will give you the power, the authority now to go and advertise for your premises for somebody to come and take or come and occupy. And you have two options. You can use the agent as we call, or we still have a register at the rent control department, a vacant premise register, where after the assessment we input all those vacant premises into our database, or any landlord who has any vacant premises can also come into our offices and then we register these vacant premises so that those who are roaming looking for apartment, of which we call them prospective tenants, they also, when they come and then they look at the premises that we have in our database and it suits them, we call both parties and then we send them to go and document their processes. So after you've advertised through the agent or the rent control department and you've gotten somebody to come and occupy your premises, the first thing you have to do is to issue the person with what we call tenancy agreement. That tenancy agreement will give that prospective tenant the rights and responsibilities he has in the apartment. You as a landlord, what are your responsibilities or your rights in the apartment? It will also give the prospective tenant how much he's supposed to pay for as rent,
Right.
and the frequency of payment. We've heard a lot about this 6 months, 2 years, 1 year, and the rest.
Major challenge.
If you look at section 25(5) of the Act, it forbids any landlord in Ghana to collect more than 6 months rent if it's a long tenancy. You know, there are two types of tenancy. We have short tenancy and long tenancy.
Right.
Short tenancy is a monthly tenancy you pay. But if it's a long tenancy, it's a tenancy that exceeds 6 months. So which means you can sign an agreement with somebody for 1 year, 2 years, 5 years and above. But when it comes to the payment, the law forbids you to collect more than 6 months rent.
Right.
So if it's a 1 year tenancy agreement, the maximum you can take is 6 months, and then the next 6 months you take, then you conclude the tenancy. So this is it. So when the tenant has read and then understood the tenancy agreement, now the tenant would sign. The law again, under PNDC law 138, that is Rent Control Law 1986. When you look at section 4, it mandates every landlord after the tenancy has been signed for you, the landlord, to register this tenancy agreement with the Rent Control Department. The notion behind it is that, you know, tenancy agreement is not an infringement. You are infringing on somebody. It's a mutual agreement. So you have to take into cognizance our constitution. You have to take into cognizance some sections in the Rent Act. You can also go as far as looking at the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. You don't have to infringe on somebody's human right. So we, the rent control officers or the magistrate, will look into the tenancy agreement and make sure you are not going to infringe on somebody's right. When we give you that right, then you get the power again to go and collect money.
Right.
So without registering the tenancy agreement or the lease with the rent control department, you, the landlord, has no right to go and collect money from somebody. Now, if you followed all this process and we give you the right to go and collect money and you collect the money, again, the Rent Act mandates you that instantly you have to give what we call a receipt, general receipt. If you don't have an official receipt, then you can just pick a paper, write all the details, then later you can issue an official receipt. So the law mandates that any money that is given to you in respect of any rent, instantly you have to give what we call receipt.
Right.
Again, we have some nice picture here, which we call the rent card. So this is what I'm explaining. We dealt with the tenancy agreement, with the A here. We dealt with the R, which is the receipt. We have something we call the rent card. The Rent Act under Section 20 mandates that after the tenant, 7 days after the tenancy has been signed, that within that 7 days, you, the landlord, must issue the tenant with what we call this rent card.
Right.
This rent card has details of the landlord, details of the tenant, and then that's a particular information which is an emergency number or a guarantee number. So that in case something happens to the tenant in your house, you can fall on somebody for an assistance. Or even if the tenants run away with your money or damage your premises and run away, we can use this emergency or guarantee number to trace that tenant. Then in the card, within the card, we have the monthly payment. Just as I said, there are 4 columns, which means you can sign tenancy agreement with somebody for more than 6 months. So if it comes in that form, the maximum it can take is 6 months blocks. Okay, the card comes in 2. So you, the landlord, will keep 1, and then the tenant will keep 1. So if you have 10 tenants, you have 10 pairs of this, so that all of them will have 1, and you, the landlord, will have 10 of those things. Right. So that's the C. And then the last one is the T, which is rent tax. When you look at Income Tax Act 115, it mandates every landlord, after you've collected rent, to pay what you call the rent tax. So the rent tax, if it's a domestic dwelling, you pay 8%. If it's a commercial premises you rented out, the law mandates that you pay 15%. Okay. So these are basic things that every landlord must equip him or herself with when you get any tenant to your premises.
Right. You mentioned a number of things that I want to ask about. So I'll start with if you are being asked to pay more than 6 months rent. Okay. How do you, and obviously you can't afford that. Yeah. How do you go about this? Okay. So just as I said, under Section 25(5) of the Act, it states that the landlord has no right to demand or even to collect. So if you go to a premises and the landlord starts to demand, it's your right. There's a local choral song that's a Jumai Ediye, a Semi Edika, a Yemi, a Yewu, na Yebetumi. So you cannot fold your hands when you go to a premise and the landlord starts demanding more than 6 months, and then you fold your hands that you'll be a victim or you lose that premises. You see, our forefathers have sacrificed so much for us that we are enjoying in a way now. So if we sacrifice now for somebody else to go and enjoy that facility, somebody else will also go and sacrifice somewhere for you to go and enjoy. So if you report such a landlord and it comes before us, we do our investigation, we sanction that landlord, the landlord will not go back and commit the same offense. Of course, we are seeing evidence of such things. Because landlords with caution, landlords with prosecute, have not come back with the same offenses. And what is interesting now, since we started this massive sensitization program, a lot of landlords have started taking the maximum of 6 months. Some has gone as low as taking monthly rent. So if all of us, especially landlords, will come down, apply for this assessment. Of course, the assessment, we don't look at 1963 iron rod price. We don't look at 1963 cement price. We look at the current rate of the economy before we make an assessment. And then we come out with the rent. The argument with this is that, say a dino or no, I see a dine. Okay. And I will open so be rent. Okay. And see, why do you want to give me, what's it called, conditions as to how much I should charge or not charge? Okay. So just as I started with, after building your premises, if you want to dwell in or want to give it to your daughter or your son, no law infringes on you. But now you are putting it on a commercial platform where there are rules and regulations that might guide you. Because what you are now going to do is not within your family. Okay, you are going to do with the public now. So the public, the laws are there to guide you as to how you are going to. But as a department, how are you ensuring this law? Because there's a lot of arguments that the department is not doing what they're supposed to do. Okay. I am a tenant and I don't even have the card. And I'm pretty sure you don't know my landlord either. So how are you ensuring that all these things that are entrenched in your constitution is being implemented by landlords and obviously the tenants as well.
Okay, so you see, the implementation of the act is a collective responsibility. It's not solely on rent control department alone, neither is it solely on the government alone. It's all of us. We have to put our hands on deck because rent control cannot be everywhere at the same time. So since we cannot be everywhere at the same time, if a landlord commits...
Don't you have offices?
Yes, you know, we are supposed to be in all the 260 districts in the country. But due to logistical problems, which we have all over, we now have 56 offices. The 56 offices does not mean we dwell or we adjudicate cases on only those 56 offices. Where we don't have offices and you go to the district assembly, the adjacent office of the rent control department is shown to you. So you can see one office which is taking care of about 4 districts at the same time. So this is what we are doing. Of course, we are discussing a new bill. After the new bill has come, every district assembly will be mandated to provide accommodation for rent control department. So we are pushing for this until that the rent bill comes or the rent act new bill comes.
So before that comes, what do you intend to do in the interim? Because people are losing hope in the departments. There's been instances where people say they've come to the rent control department and their issue wasn't solved. If anything at all, it escalated the issue. So in the interim, as we're waiting for the bill to be passed, what is the department doing or intend to do?
So you see, the department is an adjudication department. Definitely when 2 parties come, definitely one will be satisfied, one will not be satisfied. Based on the law, we solely apply the law. We don't look at human faces. We don't look at your political color. We don't look at your gender. We look solely on the act. So if you come and then we apply the act and you are not satisfied, the issue is that after rent control, you can go as far as the Supreme Court if you are not satisfied. Okay? It's just an open department. Definitely, just as I said, if you are not satisfied and you come, first you can seek redress from our chief rent officer. If so, you are not satisfied, you can go to the magistrate. After the magistrate, you can go as far as the Supreme Court. So what we are doing is we are intensifying our sensitization program. Because if you know your right and you stand on it, the other person or the other persons do the right thing. So if you know, just as I said, of course, we are doing this sensitization for people to know their rights and responsibilities.
Right. So please put a pin in the thoughts. I've put the phone lines there. Mr. Momfre, me, I have issues, I have issues. And I know you have issues as well. Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Thank you for calling. What's your name and where are you calling from? Okay.
Robert.
Robert. Robert Maranonko.
Me pacho, next rent control for now. Somewhere 1960s no more coming. Now I'm about ready. Me pacho. Somewhere 1960s no. Now I'm about radio so. Now on me and check ma obi I feel upon you who say start with the airport. At this time, and new was adil. Obia sorry, was it Mama Advance, 3 years, 4 years, and 2 years, no 2. Mrs. Testament is a month, you know, month. Utia as a Bosusa, Utia month, Ska. Bosusa no Tia Mantiska, Bosusa no Tia Mantiska. And the next day, if you have one to say, you need the penny on the Woska. So, and to almost money from a month no Mujalavans can say, we are not at to, and I will to, Mr. Tira for Omuyabu, no rest control for the so, Omuyan Church radio so, more, yeah, who say, Samet here, it was working to Ramandi. So, you must say, Robert,
Robert Yadase. Hello, good morning, and thanks for calling. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Please tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Please, I'm Priscilla. I'm speaking from Barrier.
Okay. So please let us hear your submissions.
Okay. I've rented a house for 2 years, and for the my work condition, so I can't stay there anymore. So I'll move from that place to different place. And my advance, landlord doesn't want to give me my advance.
Hi, if you can hear me, can you position yourself properly because your line keeps breaking up?
Hello?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
I said I've rented a room.
Okay.
The room wasn't a normal room. It's very small. And I realized that I cannot stay there anymore. So I've stayed there for 1 year. So, and I've moved from that place. So I want my advance. But the landlord doesn't want to give me the money back.
According to rent laws.
Well, in this case, what should you do? Hello, can you tell us where you're calling from?
I'm calling from Kumasi.
Kumasi, okay. Hello.
It's a barrier. Which barrier?
Hello. Okay.
Okay.
So yes, we've had two instances that we can talk about. So with the lady's rent balance that she wants to take, what can she do about it?
So Maminda Robert.
Yeah, good morning.
Hello, good morning. Pacha Efra saying now Okasa free.
Maybe Imam Kasafi Epentalaju.
Okay, Ima Yetio.
Pacha, all day, like Niamokano is true. But sometimes obviously dying, to control the person like on GC and also on GC. It's like taxi and trotro. Also, trotro drivers and they are being controlled by a union. But over taxi now, they have their taxi behind the real originator. Who do you control taxi driver?
Two things. Trotros now almost stations no. Na union need to control not ala so no. It's the same with the taxis as well. But I said what I say.
Yeah, my
aha. It is a can say on no see ni dying to yen jino no nya de obeya. Yes, you won't bet you movie
me can suggest about the anything or music or motion, but not maybe a person the rent control can control them.
And that's why he's here, ain't he? Yeah, that's Ima. Thanks for calling. Yes, so please, let's the woman's submission.
I just want to thank Robert first for the encouragement. But that's why we are here, to increase our sensitization, increase our educational program. Our friend from the barrier, when you say parent control or get a rent control office near you. I don't know your location, barrier, I don't know which barrier you are talking of. But get to the nearest rent control department. We will assist you to get a refund of your rent advance.
Is there a number they can call?
So at the end of the day, I will give our social media handles and then our contact as well. And then the issue about me na masi me dying and more be and control me. So what you are saying is, or what the law is saying is that if you don't want the law to guide you, then be in your own house. Don't rent it out. Because now you are putting it on a commercial platform. Just like, just a quick example. You've gone to the bush, got all the concoction, you've come to your house, prepare something that can cure COVID. You cannot just go out and sell it.
Right.
You need to go to FDA for them to give you approval certificate before you can come out. So it's the same way when you want to commercialize your apartment, there should be an assessment to make sure that the place is tenantable. The place is where somebody can live, and then you'll be controlled by the act. So landlord should just calm down. We are all going through difficulties, so you cannot use your premises. In any case, if you build your premises, you cannot use 2 years, 3 years to recruit all your money. It's a recoverable rent.
Let's put a pin in the thoughts. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Please tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Yeah, my name is Ajimang. I'm from Kumasi.
Okay, Ajimang, please go ahead.
Okay. Let me first say that those who are making argument that I built my house and therefore I have right in do that, I disagree with them because once, as the PR officer just stated, once you have decided to rent your apartment, to give your space for somebody to come and stay, the issue of human rights is involved.
Yeah.
So then how are you going to deal with that? Then the law, there is a prescription and definition of the law, how those things will be able to coexist.
Right.
And I also want to find out from the officer, okay, if there is any section in the act that, addresses issues of, utility bills. Who is responsible? Who's supposed to handle utility bills? How utility bills supposed to be shared? And those issues, because most of the cases, the issues with utility bills causes more of the problems. It's more of the houses.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for calling. Thank you. We're grateful. Hello. Good morning.
Hello. Good morning.
Please tell us your name and where you're calling from.
My name is Asiedu. I'm calling from Brekum.
Okay, Asiedu. We are listening to you.
Okay, I have a question and a suggestion.
Okay.
My question is, does the rent control also look into the works of the hostel managers? Those who give hostel for rent for our universities and our other tertiaries. Do they have hands in their work? And my suggestion is that they should create a platform for the house, the landlords to register. So if you want to give your house for rent, then you come and register so that we know that this house is for rent. And if they're able to do that, collating money from there will not be a problem, and solving issues between landlords and tenants will not be a problem. Because in Ghana, there are certain places, the amount of money that they demand does not correspond to the sales of that building.
Yeah.
And in fact, we are paying a lot of money and we are not getting anything.
Yeah.
So they should look into that.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you also. Thank you. Okay, so do you want to quickly answer that? So
Yes. So to my friend Ajimang, again, I say thank you. But there is no specific section in the Act. But when you look at from Section 10 to Section 19, of which it guides us as to what should be factored into when you are coming out with assessment, this utility in a way, not specifically, but comes in a way because it gives us the chance to factor in any rate. So the rate can be this utility rate, especially for toilet in quote. But for electricity and water, no specific section deals with it in the Act. And then to Asiedu, again, the Rent Act is in control of hostels, private hostels. You know, the Act is for private dwellings, not for government and then metropolitan and district assembly. Anything that comes under metropolitan and government is above the Rent Act. But when it comes to private dwelling, private commercial apartments, then rent control comes in.
Okay, so please quickly in about 30 seconds so I can wrap up.
Okay. So with the issue about registration, that's why when you look at Section 4 of the PNDC Law 1986, PNDC Law 138, that's why it mandates every landlord to register your lease or tenancy with the Rent Control Department so that we can get details of the landlords and the tenants in our database. So landlords should adhere to this strict compliance of the Act. Yes.
Okay. I also think, do you have foot soldiers who go to areas to check if landlords are ensuring that,
just as I mentioned, we have logistical problems. So moving out is a difficult. So now we draw only on people who report cases. And then that's what we use.
We'll bring you back here again. There's a lot that we could have spoken about.
You cannot exhaust.
Yes. So we'll bring him back again. So please write down all your problems, and then when he comes, you just call in and he would address them as well. Definitely, this has been the social segment on the Morning Updates. My name is Nana Abena Sewa. I'll come your way again tomorrow. But in the meantime, Eric Ahianyo is on standby for newspaper review.
Tell me the tell me one what this say na me say ko fa pani. Hey! Kwati adawrumo, me yonko kwati. Na adawruma. Enu enumere wo ye aduane asori wura dem ana me fefe me se adabon. Ana kwati ebere meduro. Eduro de bere me no se losing heba, Mr.
Na me sisi me pechi, ene me hona matwetwe me. Ene me kyese madwonku, ene me nsai. Na de na wonka
me do futwa so. Empre ho, enya no nko. Wo de losing heba ointment.
Me sisi, me kotodwe, ne me pechi. Me hona me yaw. Mintiwa na etwetwe me nyina. Me no ye de Israel. Eko, me benefit ko mu yaw na ne ha no. Ono bie no. Eko, na malaria ne de etu ase de kudi.
Lawson Herbal Clinic 0242 133 577.
Enye ma pemfo, ema wo ma omanofo, ene mofra wenya mfie dum.
Lawson Herbal Mixture, any Lawson ointment. Ehun asedaye.
Peace of mind is very essential in your journey to success. For our Kwesi Papa, peace of mind means having a proper covering over his family. Literally. For Araba, aka Injection Mama, it's about having the funds to complete her advanced nursing course. And as for Corporal Odami, it's as simple as reporting on time for his shifts. Sometimes all you need is a simple push. At Needs Microfinance, we have tailor-made loan packages for salaried workers under the Controller General's Department. With the low interest rate and quick wahala-free process, you are guaranteed of a timely solution to get back that peace of mind, literally in 30 minutes. Needs Microfinance. Growing with you.
This is TVXYZ. This is Xyz TV. You can follow us on Facebook and YouTube. If you are not watching at home, if you want to leave home and you're not driving, you can just relax in your car and then follow our conversation. This morning, I have two gentlemen. They are very popular already. Joe Jackson is synonymous with Dalex Finance. He's the Director of Operations, and he's with us. Anytime he's with me, I'm very comfortable because I can get a lot of wisdom. I learn a lot because it's almost an institution, especially when we talk about finance. Gentlemen, you are welcome.
Good morning. Good to be on your show.
Yes, and happy to see you too.
Oh no, life is good.
You know, you are a big man. So when I was saying gentleman, you are welcome, I was asking myself quietly that, hey, who are you to say gentleman?
No.
Say, you are welcome.
No, I'm just...
Actually, man, you Mate. And then Edu Asare, the pioneers of talk on radio afternoon. You are welcome.
Thank you, bro.
Somebody called me after the show the last time that Charlie, like Edu Asare won't chew you for the studio. They say you were all heat. Charlie, you are welcome. I like your outfit.
Oh, thank
Charlie,
you.
Ghana is sweet.
Oh, to some people.
Yeah, but of course,
some of us.
It's all over you.
You know, these some of the things you see as where we bought them years ago, you know, and we keep repeating.
Okay, so let's delve quickly into the conversation this morning. A lot of things are happening in the country. Many are related to security issues. Concerns have been raised, but revelations coming out suggest that all of us must wake up and begin to talk, at least to help shape the public policy to ensure the right things are done before things get out of control. Galamsey, Etiwa Forest, people going to court, their own revelations or claims, or somebody will say the testimony they are bringing out is raising eyebrows. And of course, I'm sure you have followed Ahmed Swale. His death has put Ghana on the spotlight. And yesterday, there was a video that was trending. And of course, Keno Ajimang has been known to be pouring out lots of frustrations, or people will call it ranting. But the allegations in there are quite serious. He says that the police is aware of the killer of Ahmed Swale. They've known this for months. They have briefed him. And he's not speaking only as MP for Asan Central. He's the chairman of the Defense and Interior Committee of Parliament. And he even said in that tape that when Parliament resumes, and Parliament is resuming today, I'm sure you are aware, he is going to summon the sector minister before the committee to answer questions why they are refusing to pick the suspect, somebody he knows, and he mentioned the name. You hear the tape later on this program. We are also aware that the president has been traveling around few countries in Europe. He's been to 3 countries, France, Belgium, and he wrapped up in South Africa. And he's coming back home today. One good thing many people would want to reference is what they have been able to raise in terms of loans, which will be payable, I think, in 15 years for the establishment of a development bank. That issue has come to fore, and many people are talking about it. I want us to spend some brief moment talking about that because of one of our guests who understands the finance sector. You are welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Now, we all know what has been happening in the financial sector, especially in the banking industry. The government is very optimistic that the establishment of this bank should help accelerate development. People have also raised other schools of thought. For you, and having followed our industry, looking at some of the existing banks and how they may be struggling, if it is true, what is your own opinion on this initiative and what is in there for Ghana, if there is any?
Okay. Now, first of all, it's important to make this point that the fact that there are banks that are insolvent, badly run, with making loans to themselves, doesn't mean that there's no space for another bank. They are literally 2 separate issues. This institution has problems and we must fix it. And we may debate about how the fixing went. But it doesn't stop another institution from coming in. So the argument that has been made that we've spent so much money fixing, cleaning up the banks, and why only to set up another bank, does not wash with me. The second issue, which is this, that maybe the objective of the bank, the development bank, the objectives are lofty and good. But some of us worry that state enterprises in this country are in the hall of shame, not in the hall
of fame.
And so when you set up another state industry, despite all the assurances that this will be different, this will be all from everything we know about these state enterprises, is that, hey, amount for batokas akesiye, amount for bedi salaries akesiye, and the objective will be left far behind. As we sit, it's prudent to ask yourself, what percentage of ADB's loans go to the agric sector? What percentage of NIB's loans go to the industrial sector? Were the objectives not good? Yes. Was the implementation fraught with difficulties like that? Sometimes you wonder whether ADB, NIB, some of us even have cause to wonder whether should they even have survived the cleanup. Is what they are doing now meshing with what they were set up for? For the same reasons, we will wonder. Not because we don't think that a national development bank is a good thing. Not because we are not appreciative that even in spite of all our challenges, the development institutions are ready to give us money at a concessional rate. But because our history of running state institutions is bad.
Now, does it make sense if people argue that we have, or there's supposed to be Ghana Infrastructure Fund or Bank, Ghana Infrastructure, is it GIIF? Ghana
Infrastructure Investment Fund.
Infrastructure Investment
Bank. Now, so when banks are huge and they capitalize, they are able to even attract more business. And so the few ones we have should rather be receiving such support so that we don't have too many national banks, but we have a few which have the muscle to be able to address the problems we have. Let me maybe throw that question to Edwasare and come back to you briefly and move on to other topics.
Yeah, good morning to our viewers and everybody watching us. I want to differ a little bit from my big brother about the first point he made as regards the fact that a bank, so many banks were liquidated, and then all of a sudden we are bringing a new one, and you know that argument for me, there's a certain logic about it that I want to talk a little bit about. My small mind in the financial sector and the small logic as a growing businessman, I want to ask myself whether in the scenario that we had, about 13 banks as we had them, we had various cases, because all of them, we didn't have one size fits all reason for the decisions that were arrived at. Many of them had different shades of issues to deal with. A bank like the Heritage Bank, which did not have any problem in terms of all the other issues that sounded negative. The only reason why Heritage Bank, we are told, was their license were withdrawn or was withdrawn was because the owner or the major shareholder had a case in court, and that court even at the time when the court had not decided or had not had any judgment on that case, whether or not he was guilty or innocent, the fact that he only had a case in court was a reasonable grounds to liquidate his bank or to withdraw his license. For me, if you have a scenario like this as part of, you know, the myriads of reasons to liquidate a bank, it won't wash with me also that you liquidate a bank that was in good standing only to bring in a new bank. That is a challenge for me. But that
may not be national bank, so that case may be a separate.
No, I'm just dwelling on the argument on the floor. Okay, so you can pick the various banks and the reasons for which their licenses were withdrawn or they were liquidated.
Instead of lumping all of them.
Exactly, and making it look like it was one decision that, or one mistake, or let me say, there was just one reason that all of them fell short of, for which reason they were, no. And for me, the other reason is also that you want to build a nation. You want to build a private sector. You want to encourage indigenous businesses. Is this the way to manage a situation like this? And best practices across the world. Recently, we had the Enrons and the others in the US, and they had to, the American government had to inject capital, and also the management of those banks. People were removed, others were brought in, and those banks, some of them are still standing and standing strong. That is what you do when you want to build a nation. And then the figures that they claim they used to liquidate those whatever. How much are we talking about? Initially they came, they said they needed 9 billion. 9 billion went to 13, 13 went to 18. We ended up around 21, almost 22 billion. Has anybody come to us to give us a breakdown of how or what that money went into and how it was disbursed and all? Ghanaians, we are just we hear the story 1 week, it is gone. Accountability is completely out of place. So I agree with him. The manner in which we have handled state institutions, even with this, which had to do with private sector and government's injection of capital and all of that, we are unable to account for the Ghanaian to know that, oh, this and that is what went, and this is where it went to, and all of that. So how sure are we that if we brought in a company, it's a state-owned for that matter, how is it going to be?
It will be run differently.
Exactly. So
let me take that question to Joe Jackson so that we can wrap up on this conversation. Now, in view of the concern we all know that you raised, how can we, or what should we be doing to guarantee that this bank may operate differently, especially when there's always the suspicion that when people are in authority, they put apparatchiks there who go in to do their private business rather than state business. And so we can be sure that this 150 million euros or 170 million euros that we are going for, that the taxpayer will pay in due course, will not go waste.
Well, I will start with the board, and we'll be watching carefully to see who is appointed to the board. If the board appointees are independent-minded people, not partisan politicians who are being rewarded for loyalty to a particular part of the divide, then that will be the first sign that we are trying to mitigate it. You see, what happens is that in this country, we treat appointment to the board of state institutions as a reward. So when I come to power and you bring your CV, say, per board be mami kotina so. That's what we do. Now, what we forget is that there is real work to be done on the board. There is real value to be delivered at the board. And if you start off by appointing only political loyalists and giving it as a reward, you see, when it is a reward, I don't have to do anything to get it because the work I have done already. So when I go to the board, all I want to do is to chop money small as a reward for loyalty and my campaigning and etc.
Or investment towards the party's success story.
Good. Oh, you cannot, I'm giving you a reward. How can you hold me and say that I should be working and delivering certain performance targets? Because I've done the work. I've collected my salary at the end of the month. So all we are doing is that we are sabotaging these state enterprises. And I'm watching for the board, the people who will be appointed to the board of this new institution. And when we see that the same old things are being done, party members are being rewarded, then we say, oh, there's nothing we can expect from them.
Okay.
Because, as I say it, when I get my salary, it's for work done during the month. If I want next month's salary, that is what you can give me for. These guys, they've done, it's a reward. It is a reward given out.
I think that the statement is very instructive because it is 170 million euros. Ghana will pay. And so the board will be the first signal, according to Joe Jackson. I believe Edward Sari will subscribe to this. I won't give you time to speak to this. Or
all I can add to it is that he's right. And I can put my neck on it, that it's going to be business
and the argument
as
will be that they are also Ghanaian.
Oh, definitely.
So why would you want to?
Keno Ajimang, you are assured, will bring his data bank squad. You know, the people he worked with, his cronies and whatever, they will fill those spaces. Keep your eyes on the ball, you will see.
Okay, I'm hoping that they will disappoint Edwasari, but that's just on a lighter side. Now, let's look at very serious issues equally. At this time, we want to focus on the MP for Asan Central. I won't say much. Just listen to what he has been telling the nation with regards to the murder of Ahmed Swale and the serious allegation against a huge institution like the Ghana Police Service. It is his word against that of Ghana Police Service we may hear in due course. But let's hear Kennedy Japan.
Quite a friend. What? Yeah, I mean, chairman, I can always invite him to come and brief the committee. That's what I mean by I'm quite a friend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we have the power to call the minister to come to Parliament to meet the Committee of Defense and Interior and ask questions. What is happening? Because first quarter 100 and also year. So we should find out. Me, I'm not privy to any information, but I'm sorry. What I don't like about the police, and he said, someone notice here, make so odi amonhwe. O abentina Ghana ni ekum police ni a within 3 days ni achido. Ghana ni ekum Ghana ni onye police na security agent there ye nchede da. Why? Why? That is why I'm saying that when I go, my committee will invite the minister. And I have typical example of Ahmed Swale. When I condemn Anas, omu akaza kwa omu di, onipa na okunu no wo Ashanti region. Police for na akasa na brief me. So honorable, you know, what the way exonerated now, minimum why this thing happened to stay away a day. But me say, how do I stay away when Anas Kromfo within Nisa mention my name up to extent a congressman report to me. Yes. Emma me drew Houston in 2019 November. Almost stop me. Say me na makokum ameswali. That's the report. Now and you have the report. You know. Na niya ya woman say. Omo kachira me say. Mimi nya botre. Na akwano. Your friend Ansu Jiabo. And mu ye privilege. We are privileged. You are the first. A shame bufu. Monsieur Okumase, your friend Ansu Jiabo. One more person in the picture. Okum Ameswan. Yes, you are privileged. Make Ansu Jiabo.
Ansu Jiabo.
Yes, yes, Ansu Jiabo.
Anna police phone in the mouth.
Yes, and in the pictures are cheering me. Seminya Butre over 1 year. Over 1 year, and my name is up there. And here the sad story they told me. My brother, with him. Almost say, almost in the picture, say some tall guy. Now, anytime.
And so the story continues. So that is MP for Asan Central, chairman of the Defense Committee of Parliament, making categorical statement. And we have not heard the police issue any statement since. And it's more than 24 hours. And I'm here in the studio with Edwasari, who is a former MP for Adenta, a presidential staffer, and Joe Jackson, who is also Director of Operations, Dalex Finance. We'll be having a conversation on this and then move on later to another very serious issue. Let me start with you, Edwasari. How does this video come to you?
Well, straight away, it tells you about a country that is not serious with matters of security. It tells you that we are dealing with a leadership that seems to have complicity in matters of crime. And so the only way is to try and cover as many of them as possible. And it is very instructive to have someone like Keno Ajimang, who himself has been accused for this very issue that he's discussing. as having been the mastermind behind the death of Ahmed Swale. And you can tell from, if visuals are anything to go by, you can tell from the frustration that he's expressing on the fact that people have been on his back with of having been in complicity with the death. And for all this while, the police harboring such an information without making it public. And he was looking for an opportunity to, express an outburst on it. And I'm happy he's had the boldness to do that. But again, he's not in Ghana. Because if he was in Ghana, one would have expected him to have been invited by the police to, assist in the investigation. But here is the case. He is the one rather accusing the police that, look, you have this information in your bosom, and yet you've made no public statement about it. And now I'm being accused every now and then as being the culprit. It tells you, or you can ask how many more of such cases, and you can tell. He said what? The police, whenever a policeman is shot, within 2-3 days, they go find the culprit. We have individuals who have been killed, including J.B. Dankwai, former member of parliament. Another member of parliament was shot on the highways by, according to them, robbers. Till today, there's no official statement to tell us what the cause. This man has been dead and buried, and so everything is obliterated. Nothing is being heard. We cannot live in a country like this. Unfortunately, these are people who promise Ghanaians a certain sense of peace. I'm ashamed. At a certain point, that is the only thing I can say.
I would take this to be your opening remark. Let me go to Joe Jackson. The police administration is a very huge institution. There's a member of parliament who has indicted the integrity of the administration because he makes reference to over a year ago. He talks about him being shown pictures and even goes to describe that the person is tall and goes on and on and on. First of all, your opening remark to this serious allegation.
Well, in one word, you've captured everything. Or in 2 words, it is a serious allegation. It almost seems like a wild allegation. But given who Keno Ajimang is, I am very cautious in describing it as a wild allegation. Because, you see, this is the same man who broke the Woyome story. This is the same person who granted his attack dog reputation, granted his raving and ranting and throwing people under the bus, etc. He does come up, number one, he is a member of parliament. He is a senior member of parliament. He's not just an
ordinary committee.
Yeah. An ordinary somebody who's just joined.
Backbencher, they call them.
He's not a backbencher. He's right in front there. For the ruling party. Chairman of a committee, and the committee that deals with
Defense and Interior.
Defense and Interior. When he makes this allegation, I challenge the police. Respond. I challenge the police. You can't sit down. I challenge the police council. I challenge everybody. Respond to this allegation and respond now. Because we can't let it go. In the background of a situation where journalists feel under siege, they're claiming a culture of silence. And somebody says a journalist has been murdered, and that the police, you know who did it.
And he was briefed.
And you even have pictures of the person. You know where he is located. You've got to respond. There's no he didn't leave any room for maneuver. He made this categorical allegation. He was specific. He mentioned the guy. He didn't say, oh, you know him and he's supposed to be somebody living up. No. He mentioned the name. He gave a description. And he claimed the information came from within your ranks. Please, we can't, this one, you can't massage it all. If we massage it, we have to assume that the Ghana police may be complicit in some way, or the guy has so much power that the police can't touch him. But you've got a senior member of parliament saying, you know, you have his name, you have his description. Either he should be outed as an out-and-out liar, or please, we should get some responses.
But there are implications.
You can't allow, no. Whatever the implications are, we've got to deal with it. When a member of parliament, a chairman of a subcommittee, makes, you see, it's not an allegation that is amorphous. It's not an allegation that is hidden, and we don't have to interpret anything he says. You played the tape. There's no interpretation. There's no hidden meaning. This is categorical. This is clear. This is what you see is what you get. Either you come out and call him a liar, or you deal with the issue. You can't leave it.
Now, looking at his position as chairman of the Defense and Interior Committee of Parliament, it ties in the integrity of Parliament as an institution, because he was made the chair of a committee that is very sensitive to the security of the state because of the information that will be available to them and how it is managed. That is one leg. We also have a history of a state that appears to be afraid of Kennedy Ajimang, as Joe Jackson said. Because as we speak, we know he's supposed to be facing court for contempt, and we know where it is as we speak. And therefore, the narrative is likely to be the caveat he put in there that if nothing happens, Ghanaians can draw their own conclusions. You have been an MP before. What can Parliament do? Again, because you are associated with the media, what should GJA, Media Foundation for West Africa, Reporters Without Borders, all these key stakeholders who have interest in there, and above all, the Vice President is the chairman of the Police Council. I'm sure he wants to be the president of this country in future.
Yeah,
he has an interest.
I think, as you rightly said, tomorrow, is it tomorrow the MPs are coming back?
They are reporting today.
All right. Within a matter of days, I think the committee, as he said, he's not here, but it doesn't mean the committee cannot operate. The committee can invite the Interior Minister to come and answer questions as regards this, but or even the IGP. The committee of the whole can invite the IGP to come and answer questions on this particular matter, because as you rightly said, as a chairman of the Defense and Interior Committee, I would have wished that the platform he chose, you know, that is a private media house, shouldn't have been the right place to raise this matter. He could have done it with a lot more weight, or would have placed a lot more weight on it if he had done it from Parliament. Okay?
But that is suggestive that all what he's saying is true. Yeah. Because he himself is a potential suspect because of his own utterances and how the case was managed. Yes. And so there's the school of thought that is parrying that bad press on him to a whole institution.
I agree.
And perhaps he knows that his government is in power and the police cannot do anything.
That doesn't negate the fact that he is the chairman of the Defense and Interior Committee, and for that matter, a member of Parliament. You need to choose your forum, the forum to place weight on any matter. You need to choose your forum carefully. And I'm thinking that he could have, we would have had a much better, because then you can summon the right people to give us answers, because Parliament has that right. Today, the manner in which it has been placed, police can come up because there's pressure. GJ will exert their pressure. Journalists Without Borders or whatever, they all mount pressure. Police would have to respond. Then Parliament may be compelled to come in. But if you have done that, probably even spoken to the leadership of Parliament about it, I believe Parliament could have had a much better way to raise this issue and would have yanked out the necessary information. You know, because the police, as I know, as at now, why have they been quiet? It means they have decided not to, you know, make public whatever information they have, maybe because of for the sake of investigation purposes. You know, because sometimes the more information you put out, the narrower your chances of getting to the bottom of some of these issues. So, in as much as this issue is out here, as to whether it will help to unravel because you see, when we are doing investigation, sometimes you have one name. Okay? The fact that you have one name doesn't mean you must put whatever around that one name. Sometimes you want to go beyond that one name to see whether there are other accomplices beyond that one person that you have, so that you pull it. That's how the Americans work. If today an American institution finds that Eric is doing something dubious, they may have zoomed in on you, got so much information about you, but they won't come and arrest you.
Like what happened to the MP in the cocaine case.
Right. They won't come and arrest you only.
Where they had to place surveillance on him.
Exactly.
But it's been over a year.
Yes.
The narrative at World Press Freedom Day, when GJ speaks, when all the stakeholders speak, is that they have not been given privileged information about investigations. Kende Japan says it's been over a year. He's blown the lid of this so-called suspect. Obviously, if the police were tracking him, if I were him, I should be getting out. I should go undercover immediately. And that is what makes it serious. Now, Joe Jackson, managing this particular information would mean that there should be no attempt to cover up, because the suspicion of a regime where some of these serious crimes are managed in such a way that it takes away the reality that must be brought to fore to the average Ghanaian is always yanked out along the line. What should be done? How should government manage this? Because government's image was also tied to this because of the issue that was involved, the number 12 investigations, which indicted the president in one way or the other in terms of the allegation.
Well, first of all, let's be clear on this. The core of the allegation has to deal with you have known for over a year and you do nothing about it. And that, remember how he started. He says, if it was a policeman, you'd have arrested him already. And so he is indicting you because he says you know and you are doing nothing about it. That's the core of the allegation. If you come and tell me today, that's what you have to address. Not that you are investigating and you're not ready to arrest him yet. It's neither here nor there. He's saying that enough time has passed for you to have done something about it. Now, the second part is this. In theory, the police should respond. But we also know how much we lament that the police is now increasingly influenced by the party in power, which we regard as regrettable. So because of that, of course, it besmirches the reputation of the party, of the government too. But they should respond. And they should respond. This shouldn't take 2 years to respond. It shouldn't even take 48 hours. It's very simple. Keno Ajimang made this allegation. He's a liar.
And it stops there, or...
No, I'm coming. Number one, you must respond. Either you agree with him or you disagree with him, or give us whatever mitigating circumstances there is, right? And then, please, provide us with some detail as to the investigation, ongoing investigation about Ahmed Swale. You talked about the U.S., and I like that analogy because you know what? You may not have all the information, but regularly, sitting here, we see an incident occur, and we see police chiefs, whether they even speak the truth or not, at least they give updates. Where is our update on Ahmed Swale's death? Where is our update on our MP's death? Where is our update? So, not only don't we have updates, there's been an accusation made. Address it.
Now, so, assuming Keno Ajimang is lying against the Ghana Police Service, beyond stating the fact that he lied, is that all? Or he should be picked and dealt with?
You see, no, Parliament will deal with him. Police can't deal with him. Parliament.
Some would disagree with you.
Oh, unless
he's a Ghanaian, and he's not above the law.
Remember also that
this is a very sensitive, high-profile case. The international community is monitoring. That is why, even in the US, a congressman would have caused the embarrassment he talks about, and therefore it cannot be that police says he's not speaking the truth, and Parliament, we all know, will do its own thing, and that's all.
Given the circumstances of our police and BNI and co, this one, there is the National Media Commission, because he said it on a radio station. If I made this kind of allegation and I couldn't substantiate it, something will be done against me. Number two, he's a member of Parliament. And there's a peer mechanism for dealing with such issues. So, for me, I'll be honest with you, it's not being picked up by the police, that's the issue. Let Parliament, you see, Parliament has other things to do, including asking him to step down from the committee, including suspending him. Let's see what Parliament does, because he even went to invoke his chairmanship of a parliamentary committee to say, I'm going to call him the minister to speak about this issue. Let Parliament deal with the issue.
Strong points there, isn't it? But do you think Alban Bagben's Parliament can really do something?
Trust me. You see, definitely Alban, he haven't heard this, or let me speak, I haven't heard this.
Officially?
Yes, I'm sure, even if it's not official, this is an issue that has come from a member of Parliament, a senior man at that. Like the reputation of Parliament, because he also mentioned the committee that he chairs in that interview. So please, definitely Parliament cannot, push itself out of this particular issue. Definitely, I know the minority group will trigger something, and definitely the speaker will do what is needful, because these are issues that border on our security as a nation. Nobody is safe. Here we have mentioned 2 members of Parliament who were gunned. One was stabbed, the other one was gunned down, and all of that. And they themselves as members of Parliament are not safe, okay, vis-a-vis those of us who are not members of Parliament. So it is a serious issue, serious allegation that warrants all of us, including the Ghana Police. I think the IGP himself, he doesn't even have to speak through anybody. He himself should address this country today, Tuesday, about this particular issue. Because I would have expected the GJ, probably in the course of the day, GJ and others will also put their voice into this whole National Media Commission, and others, and other pressure groups will invoke whatever will get the IGP to come out and speak on this matter, because the height of this particular issue borders on, as you rightly said, our international integrity. This Ahmed Swale issue is all over the world, all over, because other institutions across, private institutions, NGOs have interest in whatever happens to this. But this president,
let's move this into a related issue. A journalist was attacked, and some would say assaulted, and the Ministry for National Security issued a statement suggesting that the officers involved had been identified, and because they were removing them from that institution, they expected that further investigations and sanctions would be applied. Now, one of them, who was the second in command, in charge of the 64 battalion, it goes back to the Ghana Armed Forces, and this time he goes to head the institution. And some are interpreting it as a promotion. Some military officers say if his subordinate was acting or became the head, he couldn't have gone there to be a subordinate of that individual. And so the whole thing has gone out there, and some are suggesting that the ministry lied and government is rewarding impunity and unprofessionalism. Let me start with Joe Jackson, because you spoke first on the first conversation. How do you see this development and the narrative that people have put on what we know now?
Well, I just say that the narrative we have put on it and the spin we're seeing it is natural. First of all, let's look at the incidents clearly. It is easy for us to say that a journalist misinformed and lied to get information. But time out here. He didn't come to this studio and lie to us and get information here. He went to the national security. And if whoever was in charge there
knew so.
I am appalled that somebody can just tell a few tales and get into a national security space that easily. So that's one thing. And even the fact that he got there that easily, somebody must be held responsible. Then when they finally found out that he was not who he was assaulted. And our security couple admitted that he was assaulted and said sanctions should be applied to those who were involved, and specifically mentioned this individual. Now, sanctions can't be go and chop another post. Where in this world can sanctions be that go and take another post? Sanctions mean that at the very least you go and sit in some corner quietly till at least the dust blows over. We're talking about a letter on the 20th. And we're talking about an appointment on the 21st. It means even as the letter was issued,
a decision had been taken.
A decision has been taken. And on that score, you have to wonder, is it that the national security couple was at odds with his military and that they were not of one mind? Is it that our military are so set in their ways that even when the national security, because I can only react to what my national security man says, hey, go and sanction this guy. And the next thing is that the armed forces give him a big post. Even put him quietly awaiting assignment or something. No. I can only have one narrative. My narrative is that is our national security boss in control? Because he covers a lot of areas. Are they in control? Are they of one mind? And this whoever signed the letter, don't tell me about he can't go and report to his subordinate, etc. Put him in some desk job somewhere. At least let us have some sense that he was sanctioned for behavior that we all agree was wrong.
Idosari, when these things happen, obviously it suggests that somebody within the Ghana Armed Forces may have leaked the letter because it was strictly confidential. And what is happening is likely to send some negative mood within the rank and file of the Ghana Armed Forces. And it is very serious. Now, with what has happened, does it suggest that indeed all these institutions have now become the puppets of people in power, and therefore they dictate what they must do?
Well, last week when I came, I started talking about a certain trend. You did not allow me to go too far with it. So for me, from where I sit, I told you my dad was an army officer. So I mean, my family, others, the kind of army that used to exist in what I know about the days of barracks and whatever days, it's not what we have today. It's totally different. Cronyism, tribal bigotry, and all of that have infested the leadership of our military. So don't expect any decency from there. That is my opinion. Following from that, the national security is an entity on its own. They draw staff from various security agencies on secondment to the national security architecture. So one would ask whether they are clothed with the powers to sanction their staff, okay, having been seconded to.
It looks like it doesn't. That exactly. Most of the time they refer them back to the
wonderful
institutions.
So definitely you are saying that the national security doesn't have what it takes to have sanctioned this kernel on its own as an entity. So they needed to hand him over to his superiors. Based on what report were we expecting the military to sanction their whatever? They have their statutes as Ghana Armed Forces. Probably whatever letter that went from the national security to the military, what was the recommendation? Is it the same as what they sent to us as a public statement, or there was a specific instruction that, look, we have done our investigation, this is what we have found out, and this person deserves to be given a certain sanction, based on which the military then can also check whether that sanction or whatever ill that the person did, you know, falls foul of their own military codes.
Okay, so I want to read. If we can share it on the screen, I'm sure it will pop up, but I want to read. This is the statement that was signed on the 20th of May. It says that an investigative committee was set up by the Ministry of National Security to investigate a report of arrest of Mr. Caleb Kuda of City FM on May 11, 2021. The committee established that the conduct of Lieutenant Colonel Frank Ajimang, Director of Operations, and some police officers at the ministry and on the said day was inappropriate and contravened the ministry's standard operating procedures. The committee also established that the journalist unauthorized entry into the premises of the Ministry of National Security was unlawful. The following actions have been taken by the ministry. The secondment of Lieutenant Colonel Frank Ajimang, Director of Operations, has been reversed. The officer is to report to the Chief of Defense Staff for further investigation and appropriate action.
Wonderful.
That was 20th.
Wonderful. So there is nothing in this letter that suggests any
indictment.
Exactly.
Can I interrupt a little bit here?
Okay.
It is instructive that this letter was written on the 20th, and on the 21st this was issued. Where was the investigation? It was specific.
Because there was a directive.
It didn't say that take action. He said, you two investigate the matter and take appropriate action.
An investigation would mean that they will call Caleb to also tell his side of the story, to inform how they will conclude.
Let's not even talk about the process yet. Let's say, was that investigation done?
You see,
that's my problem,
Joe.
But the investigation wasn't done.
You see, it fits into the narrative that we've been, what I'm trying to tell you is that don't expect any action to be taken, because everything there was stage managed, including the letter that they sent to us. It was all meant to whitewash the issues, present a certain facade to us as the public, and then go ahead to do something that is completely opposite. All right? Because otherwise, what Joe is just talking about, the fact that they should have investigated at least 4 or 5 days interval would have even made sense.
Even 3 days.
Okay? Then you take a decision based on, even let's assume nothing happened. Oh, after careful what we realized that this person did not, because the military are trained differently from the police. The police are trained differently from the fire service. The fire service is trained differently from immigration. So their attitude towards management of issues are different. That is why the soldiers are not meant to be doing interior security. Do you understand? So their presence in at the national security level is not to have direct interface with individuals and beat them. That's why it was the police that did the beating, but the head was the military person.
But he got involved. Exactly. That was the problem.
Yes.
Because if you read Caleb's issue, Caleb's issue was this man kicked him, knelt on him, and so there was a direct allegation of assault against the colonel. And national security now comes to say, oh, no. This is not how we behave. Go back to the army and let them investigate. A day later, you're given a position of authority at a certain level. That leads us to wonder.
If I want to do my small politics, okay, this is the same group of people who were in charge of this Ayawaso West Tagri.
Let me walk into that because it will fit in. We have just 15 minutes to wrap up.
Right.
I'll use the last 5 minutes to do some messages from those who are watching us. So yesterday, some revelations suggested that there's still some element of misinformation being put across by government. These are people arrested by community members who placed surveillance and saw them enter the Tiwa forest. They rounded them up with the support of forestry guards, handed them over to the police. Later, they were transferred to Accra. The Information Ministry issued a statement that these are fake national security operatives, but they were in gadgets that suggested that they are national security operatives. That's why the twist initially was they are so. They appear in court again yesterday and they are denied bail. Out of anger and frustration, they accuse government of knowledge of their activities in the Tiwa forest. And again, they say they were used for the Ayawaso West Wagon brutalities, and they were used again in the 2020 elections. And now that they are in trouble, government has dumped them. How does this narrative walk into the concern that is rising about the state of our security today?
Eric, is this news? I don't think so. Because you and I have known this group or this group's existence in our national security structure. You and I have known that. So their confirmation or whatever is no news to me because we said it. We saw them do these things right from the Flagstaff House on the first 4 days or so of having taken power in 2017. We saw this group of people beating up a policeman right at the Flagstaff House security gate on camera. Was the same boys, this same group of people. We saw them in Kumasi, taking over a court proceeding at the time and got a pregnant judge to run away from her seat. The same group of people. We saw the same group beat up, yank out a former national security coordinator in Ashanti region in 2017. Recently, we saw the same group GCOP Ayensu Opariado. And here we are.
National Security says these ones are theirs.
You see, unfortunately, their lies have been found out. And you see, I thought gray hair and age. I mean, even in those days, I used to twist issues here and there. These days, when I'm lying, it's so hard for my cheek to even accept. You understand? As you grow, you become matured, and what are you lying for? But here we are. We hear people with gray hair lying through their teeth just to ensure that they make their government look or appear positive. But they are not. They've lost what it takes to present themselves that way. You understand? So please, whatever is happening today is a reflection of things that started right before they even took power. You remember the 3 South African guys who were deported of having been training these guys. You heard the Manasseh story.
So we witnessed it. We failed to speak strongly against it to the extent that it will be stopped. It has not been stopped.
Yes.
It's gotten to where we are. Now, if you look at or read around the history of the conflicts within the sub-region, I'm making specific reference to Sierra Leone, where many security analysts tie it to the minerals there. That really got to a stage where people became armed, empowered, and now became rebels. You look at Liberia, there's an element there. You go to Nigeria, there's an element there. You go to Mali, there's an element there. Now, we are aware that people may have been armed wrongly. Is it getting too late? Is there room for action? And how soon can this be resolved?
Okay, now, can I go back a little bit? Because you see...
But speed up your commentary.
Let's remember that there's been this smear over the government that the MPP leaders themselves are involved in Galamsey. This has come from, again, good old Keno Ajimang right through, to the extent that here the statement was not that clear, but even Otunfo said things that should worry all of us, that we know who these people are. So if today they are saying that the miners there are operating with some sort of official complicity, it plays into the narrative that we are all getting to believe. Now, saying that they are not national security operatives is neither here nor there.
But that's why they are facing the law.
Yes, it's neither here nor there. What they are alleging is that they are, in quotes, vigilante, foot soldiers, whatever you call, that have been used for various things, including Galamsey. What has to happen is that somebody has to address this perception that is growing by the day. It's easy to say these are the allegations of somebody who's facing criminal
hasn't this been addressed? Defense Minister Dominic Nitiwul last week, he addressed the news conference. He was categorical. If you know any state official involved in Galamsey, mention the names, we'll deal with him. Information Minister Kojo Ponkroma has issued statements suggesting that, look, all these allegations, these are the facts as we speak as government, and they've been out there. Is it not enough to suggest that government is addressing the concern?
So when Otunfo says that we know them, what am I supposed to think? That Otunfo is making a large wild allegation? No, he's very measured in his speech. You see, if it was only the Keno Ajimangs of this world and other, then maybe we could say they are wild allegations. But Otunfo has said it. So what am I supposed to think? That all of a sudden Otunfo has forgotten his position, has forgotten his role, and now he's also joining in the wild allegations? What address that one. And so for me it plays into that narrative. And he even said, I put my speech aside. I did not, you see, listen, let's take Otunfo. And Otunfo, for better or for worse, is our most important non-partisan leader we have in this country. He's demonstrated his ability to help resolve issues that go over the years.
He has earned that integrity.
He has earned our respect. He says, the government officials came, I told, and he didn't hide it all. He said it in public. Were the officials not there?
They were.
They were. He said, I'm not going to say what you asked me to say. Oh. I'm going to say what I think should be said about the damage we are facing as a country. And said, we all know the individuals. I leave the rest to you.
We don't have time. 1 minute. Listen, hold on. And I'm sure it started from the beginning. Yaka yabre. Ya wana odu to anamon was 1-2 anamon. Yenyimede yereko akashe munim. We are entering a ditch. And we all don't want to enter the ditch. What can we do?
Say, Untuni.
Whom am I?
Untumi.
Whom am I?
Is he not into Galamsey? Doesn't anybody in Ashanti region know that Untumi?
He says he's doing small scale mining.
Interesting.
You have 1 minute, wrap up.
So please, if you want names to be mentioned, Gemfua also said she does small scale mining. Is that not the case?
Right.
Why did they ban her excavators and Untumi is working free?
Okay. What can we do? We all know we are getting there. Security of the state perhaps is becoming more worrying.
I say to the president, let us see that you are truly committed to this.
I would want you to say this again and talk to the camera.
Yes, I say to the president, you are our president. We elected you. And we ask you, if you are committed to this fight against Galamsey, do it.
And protecting the integrity
of national security. Let it be one of the legacies you leave with this country. That legacy is more important than a flyover or a road. That legacy is what we need from Nana. That our future is protected. That our environment is protected. That we will have water to drink.
Okay, so
that is life.
Let me do some text messages here. This one from Eben in Kwabenya says, today marks AU Day, and the question we need to ask is, what are the plans of leadership in Africa? Are the leaders in Africa have the continent at heart? Youth in Africa, let's rise and demand what is due citizens. Now, Masaudu says, President Akufo-Addo is a very visionary leader who is very focused, making sure every Ghanaian get a taste of the national cake. So let's remain calm. This one says, NPP party is a bad group in Ghana. No name was attached to this one. This text message says, my rent will end on the 31st of this month. My landlord is already chasing me out and claiming he doesn't like me and blah, blah, blah. So that was the earlier conversation. This one says, let's pray for Mother Ghana. We are in a mess led by Akufo-Addo. Now, even in an emergency situation, you must have political connections to get admitted to our top hospitals. This one says, President Nana Akufo-Addo should please spare us disgrace of going to sleep at foreign conferences. It is becoming an embarrassment to him and us. Abdul Basit says, fellow Ghanaians, please, if the top-down approach or command and control system is not effective, please, we can change to the bottom-up, community-based NRM approach to fight Galamsey. This one says, please, the reason for this MPP government to collapse some institutions in the country is based on the book they have written to capture the state properties. This one says, it's from Fuseni Sani in Asamankese. Good morning, Eric, and your panelists. Mr. Eric, the problem of Nana Akufo-Addo and his NPP government is honesty. They don't have an honesty. Good morning. In brief, that's what he said. Inshraba from Ashaiman says, Nana Akufo-Addo is a true leader with vision and ideas, altruistic and charismatic leadership, devoid of corruption, greed, incompetence, and so on and so forth. And the last one, before I wrap up, says, especially our security. No, it starts here. I am Godfred. Now everything in Ghana are spoiled by politicians, especially our security. The Ghana Armed Force, I know those when I was at the barracks as a boy. It's not what I'm seeing now. And they are all acting in the name of a politician. And that's how I would want to wrap up. 30 seconds. You want to say greetings to anybody?
No, I just want to say hello to our head of state, our president. Say we need you to show leadership on this Galamsey issue.
Thank you. Any comment, brief message to anybody?
Well, I think even though it's not time for elections.
Oh no, elections.
I think this government, the earlier we start thinking about pushing them aside to rebuild this country, the better. Because 5 months into government and they have already started reeling under all kinds of security, issues back and forth. Let's just get them away.
So that's how we wrap up. My name is Erica Hianyo. Nana Abenasewa was with you earlier to talk about rent and other issues. And together, we want to say thank you to the production team, Xyz TV and TV Xyz. See you again tomorrow. Bye for now.